All right, so this brings us to our last section, which is our methods and materials section. And this is where we really tie it all together so it's a cohesive lesson experience or unit experience. And so in the methods and materials section, you're going to want to think about, well, when are the best times to introduce my goal? When do those representations or my rubric or expectations, when should I introduce them to my students so that it makes sense for them and so that they understand the learning progression? And so, for example, in our methods and materials section, we really thought we'd start with our learning objective, we'd open the lesson, then we actually thought that we would show the kids the rubric and the expectations that we had set, because that really would guide us as we went through each of our representations of dividing fractions by a fraction. In this specific context, the students had already learned and had a pretty significant background in fractions themselves. And so for us, we didn't actually need to teach that concept of what fractions were. We just knew that our visuals would reinforce it for those kids who might have missed what they are in the different representations of the word problems. So we started with our expectations. We started with introducing our rubric, and then we worked through different examples of fraction word problems with I do. So the teacher led one, doing think alouds, and using the rubric to reference their answers. We did we do problems. We did 2 sets of those, and then we jumped to a you do problem. And if you notice, the you do problem had 2 possible problems that the kids could select from. Also notice, though, that the goal was word problems. And so at the end of the day, we didn't finish with word problems with pictures. We just finished with word problems with text. But we did tell students to use things like text-to-speech to help them if they're struggling with reading those word problems. Then we had peer assessment of the students' answers, and then we closed with the learning objective again. So this helped us frame out, kind of map out the story, if you will, of when things get taught and how we use these barriers, like how we're going to remove the barriers in this kind of barrier design brainstorming session. The one thing I would add is to utilize your effective instruction elements. These will help you in thinking about, well, what are the things that really should be seen in each lesson in Sanger? And so these are ways for you to, that's a tool for you just as a reminder.